Some crimes are so disturbing that people struggle to believe that they actually happened. In the early 1990s, Canada was horrified by a couple who seemed completely ordinary. Attractive, young, recently married, living in a quiet suburban neighborhood. Neighbors described them as polite, friendly, normal. But behind closed doors, this couple was committing crimes so brutal that investigators would later call the evidence some of the most disturbing material ever seen in a Canadian courtroom. What made the story even more shocking was that the woman involved wasn't just a witness. She wasn't just a victim. She helped. Tonight, we're talking about the crimes of Bernardo and Karla Homolka, better known in the media as the Ken and Barbie Killers. And this case contains one of the most controversial plea deals in modern criminal history, because even after everything that happened, one of them eventually walked free.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Sisters of the Strange. I'm Landry.
And I'm Shay.
I don't think I've ever heard of this case before.
So this case was actually recommended to us in the Discord.
Yeah.
By one of our active followers. And she had sent in a list of Canadian stories. Yes. And I looked at them and I was like, oh, I'm going to do one of these. Well, I picked the name that I wanted to use, which was Karla Homolka. And so I started looking into it and I was like, oh my God, duh. This is the Ken and Barbie Killers. I know the story of the Ken and Barbie Killers, but I hadn't separated the names of them from that because I knew it as Ken and Barbie, not Paul and Karla.
Yeah.
So once I started looking into it, I was like, oh, absolutely. Yeah, this is a good one.
I don't think I've ever heard of it.
It's wild.
I already don't like it when it's like a couple because it freaks me out. It's like, how deranged that there's two of you and you have found each other.
Correct.
That scares me.
Correct. Yeah. Is that like some sort of sick fate? Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah. How did we get here? How did you come across that both of you wanted to do the same thing?
Yeah. Before we get started, though, I wanted to ask, because this is something that's going on right now, and I forgot about it until just a minute ago when I was scrolling on TikTok. Have you heard of the story of the scientist that was recently says that he was abducted by dolphins and taken down to the bottom of the ocean to help construct this underground city?
No.
Okay, you need to go down the rabbit hole because it's wild. There's this like scientist guy who says that he was abducted by these dolphins and taken down into the bottom of the ocean.
Does it seem realistic?
He says that the leader of the dolphins, his name is Gerald the dolphin, and that they created some way for him to be able to like breathe underwater. And he was taken to the hospital. And when he's like confessing all these things, they were like running tests on his blood and his lungs and all these things. And there's like evidence that show that he's been underwater for a long period of time. Not like any evidence of like drowning or anything, but that he was in water for a prolonged period of time.
Maybe he took acid and went swimming.
Unless he went swimming on acid, like, I don't know. I needed to put that out there into the universe and wondered if anybody else has heard of that or if that's just my TikTok.
That's just Shay's TikTok. Two things come to mind. Paradise PD, which is an Adult Swim type show, and there's dolphins on there. A dolphin landman thing.
Okay.
Don't know why. He comes to mind. And the second thing is Futurama. You can tell what kind of shows I watch. And in Futurama, they go down and they find like the lost city of Atlantis, and there's people still living there. And it's like the Coca-Cola factory, like, or a coffee factory, something. I think it's a Coca-Cola factory. Had like made it to where they sunk their island and they ended up in the bottom of the ocean and they like learned how to adapt. So they turned into mermaid and mermen and stuff like that. But whenever humans come down, they have this little thing that they put in their throat, and it's like it's what helps them breathe. It's almost like gills instead. So that's what that made me think of. Like they literally just hand you this little, it looks like it was like a tab.
You just swallow it.
They just would put it in, like Professor, all of them went down there. Bender, all of them.
I don't think I've seen that episode. But yeah, I've been seeing this. And so I'm like, I need to investigate a little bit further.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, maybe this is just something that we just can't understand.
Well, you like
Dolphins are smart.
I'm like, you like dolphins, you like the ocean, so maybe you should go stand on the edge and be like, hey, yo, I'm ready, Gerald.
Gerald, it's my turn.
Because I'm going to stay here.
I have some carpentry on my resume. I could go down there and build some buildings.
I could do this.
Yeah.
I'm a nurse.
Correct.
Do you need a doctor?
Bring me into your world.
Interesting.
Yeah. But anyway.
Was it like just all dolphins creating a society?
Mm-hmm.
Did he explain what kind of buildings? Was he building like a courthouse?
He was building like a town.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess they got to have a home.
Mm-hmm. I guess. Yeah, I'm going to have to do some more research on that. I just wanted to throw it out there because I had just seen it and I was like, oh, I feel like there's people here that might appreciate that.
No, that's actually very interesting. I'm like, I need to know more.
Mm-hmm. There's a rabbit hole.
How has he, like, scientifically, they prove, like, had things that lean towards it. So
yeah.
I need answers now.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're going to have to do some research.
Do some research on it.
You're going to have to let me know.
Okay, I will. All right. Well, we'll get into this. We'll get into the Ken and Barbie killer. Again, before we go, trigger warning. We're going to talk about sexual assault, sodomy, murder. It involves a lot of young people, abuse, all the things. So this is a heavy one. So just be aware of that. Okay.
Strap in.
Yeah. Rated not PG-13. Maybe. I don't know.
My PG-13 and everyone else's PG-13 is probably really different.
Really different.
I was watching Family Guy and South Park at a very young age.
Correct. Same.
So
I'm like, oh, that's not bad.
No.
This is why we are the way that we are.
I know.
All right. Are you ready?
Yep.
All right. So, Paul Bernardo was born August 27th, 1964 in Scarborough, Ontario, a suburb just outside Toronto, Canada. He was the youngest of 3 children, born to Kenneth Walter Bernardo and Marilyn Elizabeth Bernardo, his parents. On the surface, the family appeared fairly typical, but inside the home, the environment was deeply troubled. Bernardo's father later faced criminal charges related to voyeurism and offenses involving minors, i.e. pedophilia and things of that nature.
I was jealous about it.
It was eventually revealed that he had sexually abused his own daughter, Paul's oldest sister, Deborah, and sometimes in front of other family members.
How gross.
Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, Bernardo's mother struggled with severe depression, and over time, she became increasingly withdrawn from the family and the family life, and eventually moved into the basement of the home and completely isolated herself from the rest of the house. Very sad.
Yeah.
Despite the dysfunction at home, Bernardo outwardly presented himself as a cheerful and well-adjusted child. He participated in Scouts Canada and was often described by teachers and acquaintances as polite and sociable. But beneath that friendly exterior, darker tendencies were beginning to develop. As he grew older, Bernardo developed disturbing sexual fantasies and an interest in fire setting, which is #1 red flag.
Yeah.
Despite the sexual fantasies, but like before that stuff, usually pyro maniacs,
peeing in the bed and like killing animals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One of his fantasies he later described involved creating what he called a virgin farm, where he imagined keeping young women captive so that he could repeatedly assault them. A major turning point came in 1981 when Bernardo was 16 years old. After a heated argument between his parents, his mother revealed a secret that she had kept for years, that the man who raised him was not his biological father, and Bernardo had been conceived during an extramarital affair. So, this revelation deeply affected him, and he reacted with anger and contempt towards his mother, frequently insulting her and calling her degrading names such as whore, bitch, all these things.
Get out of my house.
Their relationship quickly deteriorated into mutual hostility. So, obviously, his first serious girlfriend eventually left him for one of his friends, and Bernardo responded with revenge. He gathered all of her belongings that he had like in his home and with him in his possession, and everything that he had access to of hers, and set them on fire. At 16, he was very angry.
I get burning a couple of pictures, but
sure,
all of her belongings is a little wild.
It's a little much. Bernardo attended Sir Wilfrid Laurier Collegiate Institute before enrolling at the University of Toronto, Scarborough in 1982. During college, he spent much of his time socializing in bars and attempting to pick up women. By most accounts, Bernardo was confident and successful in these encounters, but many of his relationships quickly became abusive. Several women later described his behavior as increasingly aggressive and controlling. He often humiliated partners publicly and threatened violence if they spoke about what had happened in private. By 1986, 2 women had even sought restraining orders against him after he began making obscene and threatening phone calls. And around this time, Bernardo's violent impulses were beginning to surface outside of his relationships. So that's his early life, up until, 16, 17, 18, college, all of that.
Yeah.
Very young for him to be so violent and angry and just a walking red flag, basically.
Yeah, for that many girls to already be like, do not talk to that man.
Mm-hmm. But also on the outside, from these people who don't really know him, he's very attractive. He's very successful. He had a good job. He had money. He had a house. He had a car. He was just a normal Canadian dude who was just living his life, but
seemed like a catch, but had some baggage.
Yeah, had some bad baggage. And some serious abuse issues.
Yeah, gross behavior.
Very gross behavior.
I think it's really gross, or like it shows a lot about like the escalation of someone when they will start yelling at their partner or degrading them in front of other people. Like there's a lot of people who do it in like secrecy, but when they start doing it in front of other people, it's like they really don't care, they're really not scared of anybody.
Right.
Because anybody around them could say something, speak up, call someone, hurt him,
But he's
not
so
scared of
confident that that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's
which is
that's scary.
Scary.
Because that means that there's further like
worse things happening.
Yes. Or coming can happen now.
Yeah. Exactly.
Ooh.
So let's move on to Karla. Karla Homolka was born on May 4th, 1970 in Port Credit, Ontario, Canada. And she grew up in a lower middle class suburb in St. Catharines, Ontario. She was the oldest of 3 siblings, her and then her middle sister, Lori, and her younger sister, Tammy. She grew up in a stable, ordinary home, often described as having a very normal upbringing. She attended St. Winston Churchill Secondary School in St. Catharines and was described by acquaintances as studious and actively involved in extracurricular activities during her school years, up until about the age of 17 when she dropped out of high school. But at this time, she started to like rebel at that age. She just started didn't really know what she wanted to do, didn't want to be in school, just rebel, just typical teenage stuff, but she's dropping out of high school.
Yeah.
But then she quickly later pursues a career in veterinary medicine as a vet assistant. So she starts working at like a couple different clinics around, doing vet assistant work.
Cool.
So she has a good job.
Yeah.
She has a good career. Maybe she thinks she wants to be a vet. Who knows?
School just gets boring.
Right.
Can't blame her.
Yeah, me neither. She is also a very beautiful young woman. She's got long blonde hair, beautiful facial features. I mean, she's just cutie patootie. Cutie girl. People who worked with her at the vet clinics, they said that she had a good head on her shoulders. She came to work every day. She did her job well. She cared about the animals. Like, she just was normal.
Yeah.
Completely normal. Same as Paul. Looked completely normal from the outside. So that's their early lives before meeting each other.
Interesting.
We're going to switch gears a little bit, and we're going to talk about the Scarborough rapist. So this was between 1987 and 1990. A series of brutal sexual assaults began terrorizing the Toronto suburb of Scarborough. These attacks were extremely consistent, frighteningly consistent, and investigators quickly realized that they are dealing with a serial offender. Now, at first, they didn't want to because, again, this is one of those towns, one of those suburbs where this stuff doesn't happen. But after about the 3rd or 4th time, they're like, okay, I think we have a problem.
Yeah.
Because this is still happening. So once they realize that they have a serial offender, there's a task force that's like bound together to catch this guy. Right. And during this, the media gives a name to the attacker, which is the Scarborough rapist. So that's where that name comes in. So over these 3 years, at least a dozen women were assaulted. We're going to go down the list. May 4th, 1987, there is the rape of a 21-year-old Scarborough woman in front of her parents' house after the attacker had followed her home from a bus stop. May 14th, 1987, another rape of a 19-year-old woman in the backyard of her parents' home. July 17th, 1987, attempted rape of a young woman. Although he beat the victim, the attacker abandoned the scene whenever she fought back. September 29th, 1987, another attempted rape of a 15-year-old girl. The attacker broke into the victim's home, entered her bedroom, jumped on her back, put his hand over her mouth, threatened her life with a knife, punched her, bruised her face, and bit her ear. He fled when the victim's mother entered the bedroom and screamed, rightfully so. And a man named Anthony Hainmayer, which at that time was 19 years old, was wrongfully accused of this attack in 1989 and served 16 months in prison after pleading guilty to avoid a much longer sentence, ranging from 6 to 10 years. And he was exonerated after a confession in 2006.
Oh my gosh.
December 16th, 1987, the rape of a 15-year-old girl. The next day, the Toronto Police Service issued a warning to women in Scarborough traveling alone at night, especially those riding buses, saying, don't do it.
Don't do that.
December 23rd, 1987, rape of a 17-year-old girl, and at this point is whenever he became known as the Scarborough Rapist. April 18th, 1988, attack of a 17-year-old girl. May 25th, 1988, the attacker was nearly caught by a uniformed police officer staking out a bus shelter. Although the officer noticed him hiding under a tree and pursued him on foot, he was able to escape. Unseen. May 30th, 1988, a rape of an 18-year-old woman in Ontario, about 25 miles southwest of Scarborough. October 4th, 1988, attempted rape in Scarborough. Although his intended victim fought him off, the attacker inflicted 2 stab wounds to her thigh and her buttock, which required 12 stitches. November 16th, 1988, rape of an 18-year-old woman in the backyard of her parents' home. Again, a dedicated task force was now at this point assigned to identify the Scarborough rapist. December 27th, 1988, another attempted rape with a neighbor chasing the attacker off. June 20th, 1989, attempted rape. The young woman fought back and screamed and alerted the neighbors. The attacker fled with scratches on his face. August 15th, 1989, rape of a 22-year-old woman. November 21st, 1989, rape of a 15-year-old girl the attacker saw in a bus shelter. December 22nd, 1989, another rape of a 19-year-old woman. And finally, May 26th, 1990, rape of another 19-year-old woman. The victim's vivid recollection of her attacker enabled police to create a computerized composite sketch, which was released 2 days later and publicized in Toronto and surrounding areas. So that's a lot.
That is a lot.
Okay? Within 3 years.
That's insane.
Now, a lot of this is missing some detail because obviously there's a lot. I'm not going to go into the detail of every single one of these.
Yeah.
But each one was getting worse and worse, more aggressive. So initially, it was like grab and go. We're grabbing these girls, we're dragging them into a yard, into some shrubbery, into somewhere, assaulting her, and then leaving.
Yeah.
At some point, a knife is brought into the play. So there's stab wounds. There's lots of different forms of sodomy. Pretty much all types of penetration as well. And then using things such as knives, fingers, fists, sticks, like anything that can be
That's insane.
used at the time.
How horrible.
Mm-hmm. And most of these women survive these attacks because they're grab and go.
Yeah.
We're just assaulting and then we're leaving, not really caring what we're leaving behind. But each time, none of them were really able to say who it was. It's usually at nighttime.
Yeah.
It's super traumatic. All of those things come into play. And so it's hard for these young women to say, oh, well, he looked like this. His eye color was this. He was this tall. This weighed this much, all those things.
Process even.
That's a lot to ask.
Yeah.
So during this, police collected DNA evidence from multiple of these crime scenes. But at the time, of course, DNA databases were still very new and very limited. So investigators had no suspect to match the evidence against. For years, the identity of the Scarborough rapist remained unknown. What police didn't realize was that the man responsible was living a normal life just a few miles away. He had a job, socialized with friends, and dated many women. Now, investigators received 2 tips pointing towards Paul Bernardo over the summer of 1990 in relation to the Scarborough rapists.
Yeah.
The first was in June, had been filed by a bank employee, and the second was from Tina Smyrnis, which was the wife of one of the 3 Smyrnis brothers who were really close friends with Paul.
Mm-hmm.
Smyrnis told detectives that Paul had been called in on previous rape investigation, once in December of 1987, but he had never been interviewed. Now, Paul frequently talked about his sex life to Smyrnis and said that, and had admitted to her that he liked really rough sex. So she had that in the back of her mind, thinking hey,
he's already showing signs of this.
Yeah. So in July, 2 months after police received tips that Paul resembled the Scarborough rapist composite, he was interviewed by detectives. From May to September of 1990, the Toronto Police Service submitted more than 130 suspect samples of DNA. Police interviewed Paul again November 20th for 35 minutes, and Paul voluntarily provided DNA samples for forensic testing. When detectives asked Paul why he thought he was being investigated for the rapes, he admitted that he resembled the composite. He said, well, yeah, I could see it. He looks like me.
Yeah.
Sure, here's my DNA. And repeatedly, detectives found that Paul was more credible than this woman who had reported him twice. Not Paul.
I think it says a lot whenever it's someone who's been around him and is like, I am willing to step outside of, this is a line I should not cross.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm willing to because I
have a feeling.
I think it's this guy.
Yeah. He looks like the sketch.
He acts kind of, he gives me the vibe, the
mm-hmm.
mannerisms are there.
Mm-hmm. But charming, attractive, successful, nah. Young man, nah.
Yeah.
So let's get to where Paul and Karla meet. So Paul meets Karla in October of 1987. So remember, all of those dates go from 1987 to 1990.
Yeah.
He meets her in 87. And this was at some sort of pet store, pet supply, convention in Scarborough. So Paul lives there. Karla doesn't, but she's there for this convention because it's not far from where she resides.
Yeah.
So she's there with a couple of her friends from the vet clinics. And they're at this hotel at this convention thing. And these two see each other, and it's instantly they're she's like, oh my God, look at that guy. And he's telling his friends, oh my God, look at her. She's beautiful.
Yeah.
And they meet, they have a couple drinks and go back to his hotel room, and the rest is history. They just have this immediate attraction to each other, and they're infatuated with one another.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. So at the time, Karla was 17 years old and Paul was 23.
I was about to be 26.
20. He's in his early 20s and she's 17 years old. The friends that were with her say that their relationship was intense very quickly. They just gravitated to each other. Yeah, they're just together all the time. He's infatuated by her. He has this video camera that he takes everywhere with him and records everything, and he just wants to be this extravagant, successful businessman. And I think he was an accountant or something, but he had this drive to be famous, and he just wanted to be everywhere and in the media and all the things.
Influencer.
And, right. The first influencer, if you will.
Yeah.
He's recording everything. So there's home videos of him recording Karla, and, she's the most beautiful woman on the face of the earth. He's showering her with gifts. He's taking her to Disney World. They're doing all of these things together, and they're just in love. But they seem and even the friends, they're they were in love with each other.
Yeah.
And they didn't care who knew it. They didn't care who saw it. They were That was it. They were the
Okay.
ones for each other. And they were adorable.
Adorable.
They were adorable. They were the it couple. So, unlike Paul's previous girlfriends, Karla did not recoil from his dark sexual fantasies. Instead, she chose to embrace them. According to later testimony, Paul began sharing increasingly violent fantasies with Karla involving domination, control, and even kidnapping. Now, rather than discouraging these ideas, Karla encouraged them. And over time, the relationship became centered around these fantasies. And this is where things start to snowball. What neither of them knew yet was that their partnership would eventually escalate into one of the most infamous criminal cases in Canadian history. Because while their relationship was growing darker, Paul was still out here assaulting all these women in the meantime. And the violence would only escalate from there.
I was genuinely, while you were talking about the rapist, all I could think is, why don't they go get a girlfriend? That's crazy because he had a girlfriend the whole time.
Yeah.
Like, why don't they just go find someone that they like to do these things with instead of having to do something to someone all the time?
Yeah.
But he had one the whole time.
He had one. He don't care.
Joke's on me.
LOL. So, like I mentioned before, by 1990, the relationship was growing darker between the two. And over time, their relationship became centered around fulfilling Paul's sexual fantasies and desires, basically. Because she loved him and all she wanted to do was
make him happy
and be in love. And they were. Sure. So in December of 1990, Karla decided that she wanted to give Paul what she believed would be the ultimate gift. This was a virgin.
I was about to say, she's going to go steal somebody.
And the person she chooses was her very own 15-year-old sister, Tammy Homolka.
I was kidding.
Nope. Yeah, her 15-year-old sister. Karla wanted to give Tammy's virginity to Paul for Christmas. And according to Karla, Paul was disappointed that he was not Karla's first sexual partner. So she wanted to present him with a 15-year-old. Sure, girl.
My sister.
Yeah, because although Paul was engaged at this point to Karla, Paul had soon become obsessed with her younger sister, Tammy, peering into her window, peering into her window, entering her room to masturbate while she slept. And it's even been said that Karla aided Paul in these acts by breaking the windows in her sister's room, allowing him access to her. And according to a later testimony from Paul, Karla had at one point laced Tammy's spaghetti sauce with crushed Valium that she had stolen from the animal clinic and served it to her sister, who then soon passed out. And Paul then raped Tammy while Karla watched. And after about 1 minute, Tammy regained consciousness. And so that was halted at the time. So Tammy was this sweet little 15-year-old girl, cutie patootie, just like her sister, blonde, long hair, tiny little thing. And they all the three sisters were very close. And the family loved Paul. They had no idea that he was this horrible monster. And at one point, while they were engaged early on into their relationship, he was pretty much living with them. They were there all the time because they had, Karla had a very normal family. Her parents were married. Two other sisters lived at home. And so they spent a lot of time together, as normal families do. I mean, we do that all the time.
Yeah.
And they had frequent dinner parties and, birthday parties, holidays, all the things. And Paul was always around and they always loved him.
The way if any man said, hey, I want you to drug your sister
For me.
I'm shooting their kneecaps. Like, I don't know exactly what I'm doing, but we are halting that.
Yeah, we're stopping that.
Immediately.
Yeah.
That makes me want to inflict pain on you.
Correct.
Do not come near my sisters.
Mm-hmm. And she's like, oh, I have an idea.
I have an idea. Here's my little sister, the one you're supposed to protect.
Yeah. So it gets worse. So on the night of December 23rd, 1990, they are all at the family's home for Christmas. And they're having a night before Christmas Eve get together. They're playing games. They're drinking. Everybody's drinking. The parents said that, Tammy, you can have a couple drinks. We're at home. It's fine. Just don't overdo it. have a good time. We're here with you, whatever. Normal. But in the background, like I previously mentioned, Karla stealing some Valium from work. She had stolen now a sedative called Halcyon, which is a powerful sedative for animals. So on this night, December 23rd, Karla drugged Tammy's rum and eggnog drink while the whole family was there. When later in the night, when Tammy loses consciousness, Karla places a drug-soaked cloth across her nose and mouth, undressed her, and then allowed Paul to begin assaulting her while Karla continually assisted in the situation. So while the family is asleep upstairs, the couple videotapes themselves assaulting Tammy in the basement of the family home. And during the assault, something even worse happens, and Tammy begins to vomit. She begins to throw up. She goes unconscious. She loses her airway, and they did call 911, but by the time they got there, she had already passed away. So she had died from aspiration, basically. She choked on her own vomit and died during the assault.
Physically, my stomach is like upset right now.
Yeah. So instead of telling authorities what actually happened, of course, the couple staged the scene. So what they did is they cleaned up the area, they washed the clothes, they cleaned the room, redressed Tammy, and put her in her bed. They had told police that Tammy had simply just consumed too much alcohol during the party, and authorities accepted the explanation, and her death was ruled an accident. Even though, despite being observed vacuuming and washing laundry in the middle of the night by the family, and despite the chemical burn on Tammy's face from the drug-soaked towel, the coroner and Karla's family accepted that they were telling the truth, and the couple faced no charges.
Okay.
Wild behavior. Right. So instead of stopping after this tragedy takes place, it just gets worse. They just continue to escalate.
It's like they've already reached the worst they can get, so why not go worse?
Right. After Tammy's death, this is a piece that comes out later on in the trial, obviously, but after Tammy's death, Paul and Karla videotaped themselves engaging in sexual actions while Karla was wearing Tammy's clothes and pretending to be her. And shortly after this time, after Tammy's death, the couple moves out of the family household and they rent this little bungalow in Port Dalhousie soon after, which is still in Canada, still close by Ontario in Canada. So in the months that followed Tammy's death, Paul and Karla continued acting out increasingly violent fantasies. They recorded assaults on tape. They discussed kidnapping victims, and their relationship grew even more obsessive and controlling. Then, in June of 1991, they got married. And they have this lavish wedding. The family and friends are all there. They're celebrating what appears to be this wonderful, beautiful, happy young couple and the beginning of their life together. There's like home videos of the family, like the sisters and everybody saying like, oh, we're so glad that she has Paul. He's the best thing that ever happened to her. Like, they're such a great couple. And everybody's just smiling and having a good time. They just looked perfect from the outside. And just a few days after their wedding, they strike again. On the night of June 15th, 1991, a 14-year-old girl named Leslie Mahaffey missed her curfew. And she goes home, and when she gets home, the parents have already locked the door, so she cannot get inside because she's late. So she was stuck outside waiting to be let back in. And while she stood there alone, a car pulls up. And inside the car was Paul Bernardo, and he was driving around the area looking for license plates to steal. He sees Leslie, he walks up to her, and he tells her that he's going to go try to break into somebody's house if she wants to join him. And apparently she's unfazed by this, and she's like, okay, well, do you have a cigarette? And he's like, yeah, come to my car. Leads her to the car, blindfolds her, abducts her, and brings her back to the house.
I bet her parents feel really bad.
So for the next 2 days, Leslie was held captive inside the house, and during that time, both Paul and Karla assaulted her repeatedly, and the attacks were recorded on video. At one point on the tape, Paul tells her, "You're doing a good job, Leslie, a damn good job," adding, "The next 2 hours are going to determine what I do to you. Right now, you're scoring perfect. On another segment of the tape, played during the trial, the assault escalated and Leslie begins to cry out and begs Paul to please stop. And in the description of the scene from the court, apparently he was sodomizing her while her hands were bound with rope. Mahaffey later told Paul that her blindfold seemed to be slipping, and this signaled the possibility that she could identify her attackers if she were to live. The next day, Paul says that Karla fed her a lethal dose of that halcyon sedative, and Karla claims that Paul strangled her. The couple hid her body in the basement the day before Karla's family comes over to their house for a dinner party. So her dead body is in the basement while her family is there for, I think, a Father's Day or something.
Mm-hmm.
Dinner.
Sick.
Yeah. So afterwards, after the family leaves, they decide, okay, well, we have to do something with this body. So Paul decides that the best way to do this is to dismember her and dispose of her body. Paul bought a dozen bags of cement at a hardware store the next day and kept the receipts, which were later used as evidence against him. He cut apart her body using his grandfather's circular saw, and then they made numerous strips of the body parts that are like cemented in cement blocks. And they dumped them into Lake Gibson, which is 11 miles south of Port Dalhousie. And one of the blocks weighed at least 200 pounds, and they were unable to sink it. So they kind of just put it they just kind of like roll it into the shore. So it's not really submerged in water. It's under the water, but it's still like close by the shore.
Yeah.
And that piece ends up being found on June 29th, 1991, which was coincidentally Paul and Karla's wedding anniversary. So when they find this block, it's these two like kayak fishermen that come across it and they find it and they call the police, and the police are like, well, it can't be somebody from around this area, because if you know this area, you know Lake Gibson, and you know that the water levels fluctuate really bad and it gets really shallow right here. So they wouldn't try to hide evidence here knowing that information. So they're like, can't be somebody from around here. So it just kind of throws them off track.
Yeah.
Later on, the young girls, she had braces. And so her braces were very instrumental in being able to identify her body later on. But the investigators at this time, they had no clear suspect. So less than a year later, the couple would commit another crime that would shock the entire country. On April 16th, 1992, Kristen French, a 15-year-old student from St. Catharines, Ontario, was walking home from school. And during the investigation of this missing persons case, witnesses later report seeing something very unusual, that they saw a man and a woman were forcing a young girl into a car. So they see this young girl walking home from school. They pull into the parking lot nearby this Grace Lutheran church, and Karla gets out of the car carrying a map. And she's pretending to be confused and need assistance with her map. So Kristen comes over and is helping her look at the map. And Paul comes up and attacks her from behind and forces her into the front seat of the car at knife point. Then from the back seat, Karla subdues her by pulling her hair from behind. And they're able to kidnap her. And at the time, no one realized that they were witnessing a kidnapping.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, that girl was Kristen French, who had just been reported missing because she didn't make it home from school.
Note to self, don't help people.
Correct.
Don't be nice.
Don't be nice. Everyone is a serial killer until proven otherwise. Say it with me, everyone. Thank you. So Kristen was taken to the couple's home and held captive for 3 days. During that time, she was assaulted repeatedly while the abuse was recorded on camera. Over the Easter weekend, Paul and Karla videotaped themselves torturing, raping, and sodomizing French, forcing her to drink large amounts of alcohol to be able to submit her to Paul. Now, at his trial, a prosecutor from the court says that Paul always intended to kill French because she was never blindfolded and could have always identified her captors. So they knew that this was already
Like an acceleration?
Right. So the following day, Paul and Karla murdered French before visiting Karla's family for Easter dinner. Karla testified at her trial that Paul strangled French for 7 minutes while she watched, and Paul claimed that Karla beat French with a rubber mallet because she had tried to escape, and then French was strangled with a noose around her neck, which was secured to a hope chest. And so she died, unfortunately. And the following day, after she died, her body was discovered weeks later in a ditch. And her body was nude. It was found on April 30th, 1992, in a ditch in Burlington, about 45 minutes from St. Catharines and a short distance from the cemetery where Mahaffey is buried. Her body had been washed and her hair was cut off. And although it was thought that the hair was removed to be kept as a trophy, Karla later testified that it was cut to impede identification.
Yeah.
Obviously, this case as well sparked massive media attention and was one of the largest police investigations in Ontario at the time because it was the second missing young girl. But the identity of the killers remained unknown for now. So after the murder of Kristen French, the relationship between Paul and Karla begins to deteriorate. Behind closed doors, the dynamic between the two became increasingly volatile. Karla later claimed that Paul had become physically abusive, beating her repeatedly and exerting more control over her life. Friends and family members later say that when they saw Karla during this period, she appeared to be withdrawn and was frequently covered in bruises. By January of 1993, the relationship had finally reached a breaking point. Karla had left the home that she shared with Paul and moved in with relatives, which I believe was her aunt. No one realized that Karla leaving would directly involve her into some of these really horrific crimes.
Yeah.
Right? So the relationship was falling apart, but the investigation was now gaining some momentum. Yeah. So for years, police had been investigating these rapes from the Scarborough rapist that were committed in the late 1980s to the early 90s. And investigators had collected all of this DNA evidence from several of the crime scenes, but technology and lab backlogs delayed this testing for years because remember, they took 130 samples and their DNA databases already are not that great. So eventually, police began requesting these DNA samples from the possible suspects of these cases. And one of those suspects was Paul, obviously, because he had given his DNA. So Paul had already drawn attention from investigators due to his behavior and the fact that he lived in the same area where the assaults occurred. When the DNA tests finally came back, they confirmed what investigators had already suspected, that Paul Bernardo was the Scarborough rapist. So he had committed all of those assaults prior and during being with Karla. So the discovery immediately connected him to the earlier assaults and then placed him under serious scrutiny. Like now he's on a microscope.
Yeah.
Because they're like, what else
are
you into?
Doing?
So investigators began digging deeper into his life. They start uncovering connections to the murders of Leslie Mahaffey and Kristen French. And Paul was arrested in February of 1993. But the investigation is about to take an even stranger turn because police still needed somebody to testify against him. And that person is going to be Karla Homolka.
What is crazy to me is I would almost think he would kill her before he would let her go. Like, you're going to let the other person who knows you did all of these. I mean, she helped. She's on camera too.
Correct.
But you're just going to let her go?
Mm-hmm. Well, she's just as guilty.
Still.
So he probably wasn't worried about it.
I would be, if I was one or the other, I would be so nervous that they were going to go rat me out regardless of the proof.
Mm-hmm.
I almost feel like I would stick with them because it'd be like a protection. Like,
well, you about to find out.
Oh gosh.
So when investigators begin questioning Karla, she presents herself as a victim.
Mm-hmm.
And she's claiming that Paul had been extremely violent and controlling and abusive. And according to her story, he had forced her to participate in the crimes through threats and abuse. She had portrayed herself as someone who had been trapped in this abusive relationship and was coerced into helping him. And at the time, investigators had no reason to doubt her.
Yeah.
They had absolutely zero reason to doubt her because he had assaulted all these women. And now his wife, who's been with him for, 3 years or whatever, is now saying all these same things, that's credible.
Yeah.
They have no reason to doubt her. And prosecutors believed her testimony could be crucial in securing a conviction against him. So they offer her a deal. If she agrees to testify against him in court, she will receive a reduced sentence because they know that she's still, culpable for this because she participated even though she was being forced or coerced to do so.
Mm-hmm.
You still have to take a little bit of responsibility.
Yeah.
So let's offer you a deal. You'll get less time. Great. So the agreement guaranteed that Karla Homolka would serve 12 years in prison in exchange for cooperating with prosecutors. And the plea agreement was finalized. But shortly afterwards, something happened that would shock both investigators and the public. While continuing to search the couple's home, investigators eventually discovered a hidden collection of videotapes that had been concealed inside light fixtures of the house. So they had searched the house multiple times, but I guess something that had to do with like their search warrant or whatever, like the legalities of things, they weren't able to get into the walls, get into the ceilings. Like they couldn't like destroy the property.
Yeah.
I think because maybe they were still trying to build the case and he wasn't technically convicted.
Yeah.
So there wasn't like, I don't know the legalities of it. There was something, some red tape there, right? And I don't know 100% for sure because in my research, there was conflicting stories versus Paul telling his attorney that there was videos in
like
the light fixtures or that they had finally found them and they were able to continue the search more in depth because now they have even more reason.
Like reasonable cause or whatever to like actually do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
So when detectives began watching them, they realized something immediately, that Karla was not telling the truth. And the tapes had shown that she had not simply been forced to participate, but in many cases, she was actively involved.
Yeah.
And she was seen encouraging him. She was helping restrain victims. She was doing all of these things. And she was very calm and composed during all of the assaults. And the footage revealed that Karla had played a much larger role in the crimes than the prosecutors originally believed. But by the time that they had gotten the tapes and they were discovered, the plea deal had already been signed.
Great.
So legally, there was nothing that they could do.
That's insane.
Mm-hmm. And so the public later refers this plea deal as the deal with the devil.
Yeah.
Because you
scapegoated that.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So
I'm surprised there's nothing you could like go back for.
Yeah. Crazy, right?
There's so many loopholes. I'm like, you got to find one.
There's got to be a loophole. So in 1995, Paul went on trial and the evidence against him was overwhelming. Prosecutors presented testimony, forensic evidence, and portions of the videotapes recorded during the assaults. Paul was ultimately convicted of 2 counts of first-degree murder, kidnapping, and multiple sexual assaults. He was declared a dangerous offender, which meant that he would remain in prison indefinitely with almost no chance of release. Good. He was sentenced to life in prison. Even though he had been captured and sentenced to life, the public outrage did not end because there was a whole nother half of this.
Yeah.
All these crimes that has the potential to be free.
Yeah.
So Karla served her 12-year sentence and was released from prison in 2005.
Cool.
After her release, she had attempted to change her name, but she was not allowed. So she still has the same name. She attempted to start a new life. She did remarry and had children. I think she had 2 children. Her release sparked widespread anger across Canada, with many people believing that she played a far larger role in the crimes than her sentence reflected. And that's very obvious and very true, I think, if you ask me. But even decades later, the case remains one of the most controversial criminal cases in Canadian history.
Yeah, I could see, though, I really don't want to defend her a lot, but I could also see almost like Stockholm syndrome. You meet this guy super young, you want to make him happy, you're in love with him, and you just do whatever makes him happy, and then like you kind of get caught up into it too. I'm not defending her. She shouldn't have done any of those things.
Mm-hmm.
She should have served a longer sentence for that, for being involved. But I can also see where she like got caught up in it. I mean, I wouldn't get caught up in it because it would make me sick.
Mm-hmm.
It would make me sick to my stomach. But I can see where you like when you love someone and you start doing things to make them happy and you kind of change who you are to make them happy. So I don't necessarily think she would have done those things if she hadn't met him.
Yeah, probably not.
Like she probably would not have done those things just solo.
Yeah.
You know?
I could agree with that.
So that part I kind of get.
Yeah, but you're on camera, girl.
Yeah.
You got, but she
got away.
She made that deal, and I think she knew what she was doing. Because, I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's wild. But also we kind of talked about it like for a split second in the Discord. Somebody had mentioned Luca Magnotta, the guy from the Don't Fuck with Cats Netflix documentary from like 2020.
I never watched it.
Hate that guy. Absolutely hate that man. He's horrible, horrible, horrible. I truly don't know that I would ever do an episode on him because I just cannot stand him that much.
Don't even want to give it to him.
He had some obsession with this case and had an obsession with Karla. And it's mentioned in the
documentary.
Mm-hmm.
Gross.
Yeah.
I never watched that. I still don't think I've seen it.
Don't. I wish I wouldn't have watched it. Truly.
Yeah. I'm okay.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to stay away from that one.
Yeah. I had no idea what I was getting myself into when I started it.
No, I think I'm going to stay away from that one. I think there's a reason I never watched any of it.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to go back now.
Yeah, you probably shouldn't.
No. That's horrifying though. It's also scary to me how easy it is to be lured in by just an attractive man.
Mm-hmm. Well, and also part of it too is like they were doing it together.
Yeah.
So it's a man and a woman.
Yeah.
How many times do you think,
they're a normal couple?
They're a normal couple. They look normal. They look safe. It's fine. There's a woman with him.
Yeah. Or I'm safe because it's a couple.
Yes.
Yeah.
No.
You're not.
No.
Ugh, it's horrifying. And they look put together. They're normal. They're clean.
Mm-hmm.
And that's stereotypical to say, but like there is a certain level of safety you feel depending on how someone looks, how they dress, how they present themselves.
Yep.
Definitely financial status. Like there's things that will make you feel more comfortable around someone. So the fact that they had all of that.
Like subconsciously, even
if. Yeah, like subconsciously. It's not even something that you mean to feel or do. It just is like, that's just how you're wired kind of. And I don't know. It's mainly how you're wired.
Because it can go either way, right? You can meet somebody and you're like, ooh, there's something off about this. And then you get to know them and they're super nice, super normal. And, it's just our brains.
Yeah. You just don't know. But that's just scary. That's terrifying. Because I do think I would feel more comfortable being like, oh, he has a woman with him. And they're just trying to be nice. They just need friends, Yeah. So that's
crazy.
Unnerving.
Crazy.
But it's also like unnerving the power that they would have over each other to feel comfortable and confident to do that together. Or for her to not. Maybe she didn't want to do it in the beginning. I don't know. She was willing to hand over her 15-year-old sister when she was 17. And that's terrifying.
Yeah.
Because I would kill somebody over my family.
Yeah, there's something wrong there.
There would really not be a good situation if someone hurt my family.
No. Absolutely
like whether
not.
I actually had the nerve to go do something because I don't want to go to prison, but the like war path I would be on social media, on newspapers, like the way I would be like fighting is crazy.
Yeah.
Like there's no way I would just be like, Like I probably would have gone to the police and been like, this man just asked me to do this to my sister. You need to look into him. And they'd probably be like, oh, there's only so much we can do for right now. But there'd been all the rape.
They could go back and say, hey, there was this woman who said this about this guy. And now we're hearing this name again and we're hearing this sketchy behavior.
Yeah.
Maybe we should look into him again.
Maybe it's going to track. Yeah. Because I would lose it.
Yeah.
Even now, I'm like, don't talk bad about my family. I can talk bad about my family. You can't talk bad about my family.
Yeah. So it's kind of a heavy one. It's a crazy one, but it's a classic. I kind of forgot about it, not gonna lie. There's some crazy people over there in Canada, man. Oof. Luca Magnotta was Canada.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of crazy people in America
that was
too.
Sent. No, for sure. For sure. That whole list that was sent, and I say whole list, there was 4 people on it. They were all Canadian.
Oh, okay. Well, they're from,
and they were
our listeners from Canada.
Yes. So. The listener that sent it was from Canada.
which is really cool. I do think I like that. Like we've been starting to get more people. We have people from
Oh my God, Australia?
England, Australia. I'm like, yeah. So we're all in our Discord and we're all talking at different times.
Yes.
And so like me and Shay will randomly be awake at 1:45 in the morning or 2 in the morning or 3 or whatever.
They're like, what are you doing?
And we're actually able to talk to them because we are, I mean,
Night
you're at
owls.
work, but I'm
Yeah.
a night owl. So where I wake up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom and then I can't go back to sleep. So I play on my phone until 5 in the morning when I can go back to sleep for a couple hours.
Or if you're like me and wake up in the middle of the night to watch
F1.
a race.
What I did last night is I was on my phone for just a split second and set it down. And then I went to pick it up and I launched it at my face. I busted the inside of my cheek open on my canine.
Oopsies.
Rocket launched my phone at my face. My eyes were like watering.
Amazing. What a time.
Oh, yeah. That's just to think that if my husband ever asked me to do anything like that
No.
it made me sick when you were talking about it.
Yeah, we're crossing a line. Yeah, they're sick. Both of them. Sick people.
Yeah.
So thanks, Libby, for that.
Yeah, that was a good one. I feel like I vaguely have heard of it, but like not enough. When you started talking about it a little bit, I was like, okay, vaguely. Because I remember something being, I remember like the daughter getting locked out of the house. And I remember thinking before like, ooh, I bet her parents felt like just bad. Like they thought they were teaching her a lesson. And now all of a sudden it's turned into something dangerous.
Exactly. Crazy world we live in these days, boys and girls.
But that was a heavy case. It was a good one though. You covered it really, really well. You really did good.
I
Gave
hope
us a
I
lot of
did enough
information.
research.
Yeah, you gave a lot of information. I was able to grasp it all.
Yay!
Followed.
Love that.
Poor Tammy
Yep.
and Mahaffey. Was it Leslie? Leslie
Kristen.
and Kristen.
And
Poor
all the other
Yeah, and all the other
women
victims.
before. Unnamed.
That's horrible.
Terrible. But anyways, if you guys liked the episode, like, comment, subscribe, all the things. Follow us on all of our socials, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Discord. The Discord link is in our Instagram and TikTok link trees. If you have any stories that you want to send in, whatever it may be, sistersofthestrangepodcast at gmail.com. And I think that's it.
I don't think I did that in the last episode.
You didn't. It's okay. They're going to ask anyways.
Yeah.
All right. But anyway, that's it. We will see you guys next week.
Next week.
Hopefully.
And next week will probably only be one episode.
Because I'm going to be out of town.
Sweet dear Shay's going out of town and trying to record 2 episodes a week when she's about to be gone for 11 days is
Hard.
not the easiest thing to do. As we mentioned, we both work. So
We're
2
doing our
this
best.
week. Yeah, I'm like 2 this week, 1 next week, and then
We'll be back to normal.
yeah, we'll figure it out. We've got some. We might take some time at some point just to figure out getting a Patreon together. We might have to do like 1 episode a week while we get that figured out. Not certain, not set in stone. We got to figure it out. Got to scope it out.
We're just riding the wave, boys and girls. Riding that wave
Smile and wave.
with Gerald.
Yeah, with Gerald. Let's go, Gerald.
Okay. Bye, guys.
Bye.